Welcome to Hops News, the trusted source in beer culture news. Here's your host, Jay Brew.
Hey, welcome back. Welcome back. It's great to be in front of the. My camera's a little fucked up, as I now realized. I'm running a little bit behind, but we definitely wanted to get in front of the mic and the camera this week. As everybody realizes, our Wednesday show has been a little bit. I don't know what the best word is. A little bit fucking off kilter on timing, but we'll get there. We'll definitely get there. We're actually considering. I think we may have made it a command decision earlier in the week to bring it back to Thursday nights. So you might see us back on Thursday nights, and hey, maybe we'll do the after hour Zoom again. That would be kind of cool. That's probably the part I miss the most about what it is that we've done in the past. So maybe we'll bring back the after hour, the Thursday night after hour, and make it a hell of a time. I will tell you right now, I'm pretty excited about the beer scene in Virginia Beach. Past couple of nights, I've made it a focus. I really haven't had the time or the health, right? I've been battling a little bit of the bug since I've been here in Virginia Beach. But this week I've made it a mission that every evening going to stop by a different brewery here in Virginia Beach and order a flight if they have flights, and just tell them, open it up, say, hey, pour your best 4, 6. The first night was 4 there at Reaver. Tonight was the best 6 they had there at Young Veterans, and I am not disappointed in the least. So it's been fun. As most probably know, I don't. We hadn't called a place home that has a lot of breweries. Had a handful of them around the area in North Carolina. But living here, when you Google breweries in the area, and there's a half dozen solid ones, and then another dozen of others, it's pretty exciting. So it's been kind of fun. Looking forward to exploring the rest. I got a good tip tonight from the lady that checked me out there at Young Veterans. I think I'm going to check out Commonwealth Brewery tomorrow. So if you're interested in seeing what the beer scene is like here in Virginia Beach, go give us a follow on TikTok. I've been posting some content there about the local scene. I will tell you right now, there's not a better food in the world for me than tacos. And it just so happens there's Jesse's about 9 minutes from my front door. That's a Mexican restaurant that was featured on Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives with Guy Fieri. That is fucking phenomenal for tacos. So I might put on a few pounds. If you see me on this side of the camera and it looks like I've gained weight, it's because of Jesse's and their tacos and their red beers. So looking forward to that journey. Haven't ate my way around the entire menu yet, but I'm definitely working on that as well. Appreciate you joining us. It's a slim show tonight. Slim show. It's a slim show on the other side down in Orlando.
I was
for
say
sure.
For now, until you eat your way around Virginia Beach.
Yeah, it's a slim show. It's just going to be Lauren and I, and we're just going to talk about beer, random topics, beer. We might talk a little bit about maybe the Virginia Beach event we're trying to get off the ground. I know it's not, I don't know what the best word about it is, but it'll be fun. I promise you that. There's some great beer here in the area. There'll be a lot more details to follow soon. I think we've got the date mid-May of this year at some point. And we also have Common Law that's getting ready to open up as well. We'll coordinate some grand opening event there. Not sure on the timing of that yet, but more details will be to follow. But before we get in it, let's go check in with Lauren down in Orlando. Lauren, you cold?
No, it's better. It was back in the 80s today, thank God. But we survived a very harsh winter. It got down into the 30s this weekend, so... I actually did go to a beer fest on Saturday, and the high on Saturday was 40. So it was really funny to see all these Floridians like super bundled up because it was an outdoor beer fest. I mean, hats, scarves. I had gloves on. Multiple people had gloves on. But it was a great time. I got to try all sorts of different beers. People are really getting more creative at these things. So we had a Mountain Dew Sour from Orange County Brewers. Tactical, which I'm drinking right now that I always rave about. They had a boiled peanut sour, and that sounds like it should be terrible, but it's Tactical, so somehow they took it and made it gold, and it was delicious. But everybody got real creative. What was another one of the ones? Oh, the one that won was a peanut butter beer, and that was fantastic. That was at Boegan's, and they also had a jelly sour that they had done a collab with Tactical. So when I got the peanut butter beer, I took a few sips. I ended up voting on them, and then the girl that was serving goes, pour a little of this in here, and it tasted like a peanut butter and jelly. It was absolutely phenomenal. And Boegan's just opened up a second location about 10 minutes from, probably 15 minutes from us. So that's now the closest brewery I have. So I was very excited for that. But my husband, I go to the beer fest and I just start drinking and having fun. And he started networking for Hops News. So we have a couple people that once we get our schedule back on track that I'm going to follow up with and get them on the show. He would talk to them and he's like, come over here. And then he's like, she has a beer podcast. And then he would, explain it and everything. So Josh did some marketing for us. So hopefully we get some good guests soon.
Nice.
Yeah.
Speaking of Josh, if you ever listen to this, we got to get Hoppy a streaming computer. We get her hooked up with a computer that she can stream on. I know that she can get some good guests down there. So appreciate the effort, Josh. We're going to have to pay him in beer or something.
Or NFTs. We can figure that out.
Yeah, we'll create some NFTs. We'll create a bunch of NFTs with Mash's picture on it.
There you go.
And give them to
Duncan
Josh.
outfit.
Yeah. Hey, that's a good idea. We'll create an NFT with Matt in his Duncan outfit and that big-ass chair, and we'll pay Josh in that. Whatever he can sell that for, that's
instant gold.
Yeah. Should be able to get millions off of that. Yeah, Josh, appreciate it. But I would tell you, Lauren, the first thing that comes to mind when you say boiled peanut beer, right? Like anybody that's lived in the Carolinas, like they want to fucking drink that thing like right now.
I love boiled peanuts. I mean, if you caught the show last week, I was eating boiled peanuts right before we went live, and I was eating buffalo ones. And my lips were like burning. But I can't get enough of boiled peanuts. But we were making the joke because you love them or you hate them. And somebody was like, what'd they do? Just take the water from the boiled peanuts and turn it into a beer? And it's like, well, if anybody can do it and make it good, it's tactical. And like you could get like a hint of boiled peanuts, but even the people that didn't like boiled peanuts enjoyed the beer.
That's awesome. So do they have boiled peanuts available in their tap room?
No, but Sideward Brewing does. And so Sideward was there, and when I was there, Doug, one of the owners at Tactical, was talking to him, and we're like, you guys need to be selling this beer with your peanuts. So
yeah.
that would have been cool to have. But no, Tactical doesn't have any food.
Interesting. So I wonder where they got all the, I mean, they obviously boiled peanuts, right? They made.
They must have.
Yeah. They did something to make boiled peanuts. I wonder if they gave them to the other brewery that then sold them as boiled peanuts.
Maybe next time I go to Tactical, I'll ask.
Yeah.
But yeah, they were the first ones we went straight to Tactical because it's all of our favorites. So we're like, let's see what Tactical has. And that was the last thing we expected was a boiled peanut sour.
Nice. Speaking of beer fests, they've got one in Norfolk this weekend. To end dry January on a strong note, there's a strong ale festival in Norfolk. I've not committed to going to it yet, but if anybody is in the area or wants to make the drive to attend, I will certainly buy a ticket so we can go to that. I would. There's a lot of great breweries in the Virginia area that are going to be there. I'm pretty certain there'll be a lot of great beers there. So what a way to kick off to end dry January. A strong ale festival.
Yeah, get alcohol poisoning.
Yeah. Holy shit, if you're not turned right by then, something's wrong, because there is a lot of great breweries on that lineup. You can find it. I don't even want to guess on the brewery that's going to host it because I'll dick it up because I don't remember. But yeah, if anybody's in the area and wants to check it out, hit me up. I would go to it in a minute. I think it's 1 to 5. Sounds like they're going to have a barbecue food truck there and have a good time. So it should be good. A lot of great breweries here in the Virginia Beach area. I'll be honest with you, I was a little bit surprised. I don't, the Virginia areas is not typically somewhere that I would look to. Obviously, when you live in North Carolina, you don't tend to look to Virginia as being a state with a lot of great breweries. But, man, they have a lot of good ones. And one that is definitely high on my list to visit is the Vale. That seems to be the place to go right now in Virginia.
I didn't know you were that close, but yeah, Micah has actually sent me a couple beers from the Vale, and they lived up to the hype and the expectation. But nowadays there's so many places have great beer scenes that are very underrated. Like, I mean, I would say that about Orlando. You think Orlando, you think Mickey, you don't think great beer. But yeah, it's that's the best, is when you just find all those local places. And you're not far from the legit Dogfish too in Delaware, right?
Yeah, I haven't explored much much outside of Virginia Beach because I'm still kind of exploring the Virginia Beach area. But I would imagine it's not too far away. But that would be cool. That's kind of a bucket list visit to go see those guys. Anyways, that's been on a list for a while. So I'll have to check into that. I would imagine it's not too far of a drive.
Well, I had started looking at planning our summer road trip where we're going to go, up the East Coast. And I went from New Realm to Dogfish. I want to say, I have to look at my notes, but I want to say it was like an hour and a half, 2 hours. I was like, oh, well, we have to do both of them then.
Yes. Man, that's nice. So I think I'm going to be, the wife and the daughter was in town last weekend. This weekend I'll have to do a little bit of work. I might check into that to see how far that is away. But I know there will be some brewery visits for sure this weekend. Another chance of snow up here, right? Like, snow has been crazy right now. And obviously being on the coast, even though it is in Virginia, it's not very common. that they get snow, but we legitimately got 6 inches of snow this past weekend here.
Wow.
So it's been kind of crazy, but it's back on the radar again. Here is the can. We'll go back here. This is from Young Veterans Brewery. I love Jet Noise. It is a double IPA. Phenomenal. This is one of the 6 that she put on the flight this evening, and obviously I couldn't leave without some of it. You can probably hear, maybe you can hear it. I don't know, but Jet Noise is a real thing in Virginia Beach. I think when I put in Google to find an apartment for us to rent to get started here, it thought I was looking for the place right in line with where they all take off, because it is a damn airport just about 24/7 out here of Jet Noise. So it's been pretty interesting, and the more interesting part is with everything going on in the news with Putin and his crazy ass over in Ukraine. It seems like the Jet Noise has picked up a little bit. So, yeah, it's been pretty interesting. But looking forward to drinking my way around here a little bit more. Reaver Beach Brewing is a pretty interesting location as well. They're another brewery here in town. Reaver Beach and Young Veterans, if you look at them on a map in their Virginia Beach location, they're both in the same industrial park and probably separated by maybe a quarter of a mile. So they're right around the corner from them. Checked them out the night before. Good lineup, and I think I told everybody in the chat or at some point during the week, I can't pass judgment yet because my sense of smell is still way, way off. Taste is coming back a little bit, but sense of smell is completely off still.
And that's one of the best parts about like a good juicy beer is the smell.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're both
Like this one.
drinking veteran brewed beers.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
We should have put that as the
veteran owned.
Yeah,
I
we
didn't
should.
know. It was a coincidence.
Yeah, we should have put that as the topic tonight. Veteran-owned beers. We'll have to do that one night because I'm sure there's some more. When I was checking out, I told the lady had a great experience there. I think I was one of 3 guys that was in the place at the time, but definitely told her we'd be back to check it out and enjoy more of their selection. But yeah, that would be a great topic. Veteran-owned breweries.
Yeah, it's got to be a night you and Matt are both on for sure.
Yeah, but I bet you there's some great ones outside of the ones that we're just used to, like Tactical and these guys. It'd be cool to kind of maybe like a month, pick out a month that we kind of devote it to veteran-owned breweries. Maybe one of the veteran months.
Yeah, like May or November.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. That'd be a good week. We drink a lot of good beer, I can promise you that.
I mean, yeah, Tactical knows what they're doing. And it was, when Tactical first opened, I think it was somebody from UCF did like a project on them. And so they did like a little video of the brewery and what encouraged them to open it and the whole, veteran-owned thing behind it. And the one guy was talking and he goes, sometimes I'm just so happy I'm not sleeping in a ditch. And he was just like, it really gives you like perspective on life. You're like, holy crap. He was like, it's just so great. Now I get to brew beer and hang out at the brewery all day. And I was like, wow.
Yeah. That was kind of the story. The lady that was working at Young Veterans tonight was the wife of the founder, like the original, like the guy that actually came up with the idea. And the story was basically, he came back, didn't really want to work for anybody but himself, had a vision and an idea, and went at it. And they've been in business, I think she said, going on 9 years now.
Nice.
So a small brewery, small location. They do have a more of a restaurant, pub type location down near the beach at the waterfront. So it sounds like they've done pretty well for themselves, but it's just kind of cool to hear those stories. Obviously, being in Virginia Beach, anything with veterans around it or military around it, you have to suspect that they're doing pretty well. And for people that don't know, there is a shit ton of military around Virginia Beach. It's a naval air station. I don't know what fleet they're associated with, but and then there's a lot of Norfolk and Virginia Beach is basically like the same metropolitan area, and obviously Norfolk is filled with shipyards. You drive up there to go to the breweries and all types of naval vessels there in the docks and getting work done and all that stuff. So it's a pretty cool area. I'm sure those guys get a lot of business and stay pretty busy. So it's good to see guys like that. And obviously Orlando, I'm sure with the tourist population and having that veteran association does pretty well for those guys as well.
Well, they're in, I don't know how much tourism they get. Every now and then we'll meet somebody at a brewery that's like, oh, we're here for the parks, but it is very rare in the breweries that do. Like there's one, Dead Lizard, and they're right by Universal, and their beer's good, but it's not the first place we would normally recommend. I hate even saying that. They have a really good dark beer that I absolutely love, but it's not one we go to regularly. But I have heard that they get a lot of tourists in that area, and there's actually a brewery on property at Disney that's been there since the 90s, and they really don't get any love. But where Tactical is located is there in Baldwin Park, which is kind of fancy. And so when we first heard a brewery was opening there, we were a little concerned, like, are they going to be able to keep up with this rent? Because we know the rent is probably not cheap. But I mean, the beer speaks for itself, and they do a great job. But they're like surrounded by high-end restaurants, and they don't have food, so a lot of people end up doing carry out to the places around them, and they do a run night around the lake, which is a really nice lake, and it's like 2.5 miles, and then they mark it off if you want to do a 5K. And one of their regulars actually lives upstairs, and his favorite beer is the base lager. And they even did a can and they put him on it. It's like an older gentleman, and he has his favorite bar stool and everything. And when COVID happened, they posted on their Instagram, they put beers in like a little caddy thing, and they put it up because he literally lives above the brewery. But I mean, their location is very, very, very good. But at the same time, you make great beer and the people will come. If you brew it, they will come.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, it's funny you say that. You nailed it down to a brewery. You're like, they make a really good dark beer that I love, right? It's just funny how breweries, right? It's hard for a brewery to do everything excellent.
Which Tactical does, though.
Yeah. yeah. But typically it's like, hey, if you like IPAs, go to those guys. Mm-hmm. Those guys do IPAs really, really good. Or, hey, you like sour beers? Go to those guys because those guys do sour beers really good. Or, hey, you like dark beers? You like stouts, that sort of thing? Go to that brewery because they do it really, really well. It's very tough to find a brewery where you're like, man, those guys just nail it all from lagers to stouts and everything in between. That was the conversation that I had with the lady there. She was like, you like IPAs? Go to Commonwealth. Those guys are killing IPAs in Virginia Beach. There was another brewery, the name of it slips my mind now, but I guess the founder of the brewery is a food scientist. And she's like, that guy is brewing beers that will just absolutely blow your mind. So definitely the next time I'm back by that Young Veterans, I'm going to ask them about that. Because that sounded very, obviously you think about that, what comes to mind is like a boiled peanut beer. Like, what else is he doing outside of a boiled peanut beer that just would absolutely blow your mind?
So, Matt got to release his Donut Geek beer at Woodland Empire this past weekend in Boise, and we've had that brewery on 3 different Geek episodes. We had a Dungeons and Dragons episode with them and a Sweet Tooth episode with them. Really cool couple. And they were telling us about this beer, and I like Venmo'd Matt money because he bought me the anniversary package, and it arrived yesterday. And one of the beers they have brewed is with a bakery where like they made a beer, then the bakery took the yeast from the beer and made bread. And then the brewery got the yeast from the bread and made beer. So it's like Inception with like beer and the bread. So when you said food scientist, that was like the first thing that came to my mind.
Yeah,
but,
just...
Well, I was just going to say they know the chemical reactions better than anybody. So they probably know if I throw this in the mash, this is going to happen.
Yeah. It's just so interesting. And We've got Lori in the chat. She said she's busy packing. Just remembered you guys were on tonight. Holla. And Calusa does as well. So I'm assuming that was they do all the beers or a lot of styles very well. So yeah, I can definitely see that. But it tends to be, right, like if you like stouts, go to this brewery. If you like IPAs, and I would imagine if you asked like the majority of the beer people in the area, like craft beer people, I would bet that they would be able to dial in the great styles at each of the locations, because it just tends to be kind of what they're known for. It's just kind of interesting how things like that happen for sure. But anybody that's a food scientist that's brewing beer, I want to go check out the wizardry that's going on there for sure.
Yeah, well, it was really cool when we went to White Labs in Asheville, because they have, the beer coinciding with the food, and the, pizza is made with the yeast that they use, the brewer's yeast or whatever. But yeah, I mean, the first pumpkin beer that was legit brewed based on George Washington's recipe, like they were disappointed when it didn't taste like pumpkin, but a beer scientist would have known, well, the sugar's going to ferment out. You need to add nutmeg to make it taste like pumpkin or whatever you add.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's a lot of it, I think, is trial and error. But I mean, brewers are getting way more creative, and I mean, it blows my mind sometimes when you talk to these brewers, the level of scientific knowledge that, I mean, they just like, yeah, just the ins and outs. It's crazy.
Well, I think that is, if you're being honest with brewers, it's like that level to perfect a beer. Just about every one that they're brewing or putting their brand on kind of takes that, right? Like if you're not looking at beer on a microscopic level when you're brewing it, there's so much other things that could go wrong and throw off the flavor. I mean, you talked about it with a Cicerone, right? Mm-hmm. There's just so much shit in there that can throw off flavors and make the beer not appealing to people. It's almost one of those things you have to. Like, you've got to pay attention to your beer on a microscopic level, or you're not going to hit the mark every time like a lot of these guys are. So it's definitely interesting. Yeast is a whole nother thing. Like you said, White Labs, I still have yet to make it down there to that location in Asheville. When I was working at A&B, that was exciting for us, because we wasn't going to have to pay for overnight shipping all the way from their California lab for yeast anymore. But yeah, I would definitely love to get down there and experience that, because as you said, those guys, I mean, they're studying beer on the yeast level. And what a lot of people don't realize is that is, I don't know what the best estimation to flavor profile would be in beer, but I would think that the single ingredient that the yeast is the biggest contributor to the flavor profile.
Well, so one of the things they do, because I mean, yeast, I would say, is probably the most underrated. Yeast and malt. Well, really, hops is the only thing that gets credit. Let's face it. Even the water profile matters. And, when the Allsops guy came on, he's like, yeah, this beer got big because of where we were getting the water from over 100 years ago. So they didn't have intricate filtration systems. And it was the gypsum minerals in the water. But what was really cool at White Labs is, I think, like all the beers they had on tap and even some of the cans to go, they had each thing exactly the same with 2 different yeast strains. So, of course, I got a flight with different yeast strains, and I brought cans home, and I was very surprised at how different it was. It wasn't shockingly different, but it was different, and you could taste the flavor, and I really thought that was cool. But now we need to start giving yeast more fun names, and I think they're starting to do that, but on the cans it's like WL1279468 yeast strain.
Yeah.
So they need to make it like hops.
Yeah, if they gave yeast strains like names like they do THC strains, like
like Purple Kush.
Yeah, like Purple Kush and Voodoo Magic, Hellraiser or something like that. Like if you got a beer and it was like, man, there's Purple Kush fucking yeast in this thing, you'd be like, man, I'm drinking a 6-pack tonight.
They really should. I mean, somebody needs to get with their marketing department. Just yeast in general.
Yeah, like White Labs, like put out like a Cypress Hill series of yeast and just make it fucking crazy names, crazy marketing and pictures and all of that good stuff, I guarantee you could put the same yeast in the same damn jar and just put a different name on it. I guarantee you, if you put some purple kush yeast out, that fucking shit will be off the shelf in no time.
Yeah, especially with a pretty label.
Yeah. Like a purple label, and just make some fuzzy green strains out of the purple bud or whatever. I mean, yeah, that is a pretty interesting idea. Makes you wonder why they stick with all these scientific names.
Yeah, well, I was listening to a podcast recently, and they had Omega yeast on there, and I think they did have a certain yeast strain that I wish I could remember what it was. Maybe I can mention it next week. But that it seemed like they were trying to do that a little bit. Well, that hasn't come into that was thick.
Look at that. Now that is hazy. Let me see if I can get a video.
I was gonna say, was the whole thing like that, or is that just all the yeast at the bottom?
I've already emptied it. I will the next one. Literally, like that was, like that part, like came out like chunky.
Yeah, that's the yeast. Perfect timing.
Yep.
So there was something I had mentioned last week that I didn't know what it was. I was drinking a beer with Phantasm. Have you heard about that?
I have not.
So I didn't know if it was a hop or what. So I said I would look it up because I don't like looking things up when we're on here because I feel like I rush and whatnot. So Phantasm. Other Half Brewing actually said, so Phantasm isn't a hop, but it's made to help accentuate our favorite tropical hop characters by adding more thiols to the beer. Thiols. Thiols are one of the compounds in hops associated with tropical character, and it never hurts to juice up the Citra and Galaxy beer even more. So I guess they were talking about a specific one. But it's a powder derived from New Zealand. This is going to be a wine term. Marlborough Sauv Blanc grapes, which are rich in the thiol precursors that are known for creating aromas of citrus, guava, and passion fruit. Fruit hops like Citra have the thiol precursors. So it's just like amping it up. It's like giving those citrus hops a boost.
Interesting.
I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, it's like I said, that type of stuff I could nerd out on and just consume that sort of information, but I would end up getting so consumed with it that it would just take over my life.
Yeah, that's the beer schools. That's where it's like, do I have time to do it this week? Because I do. I go down a friggin' rabbit hole, and then it's like I have to shorten it. Because also I'm dealing with people's, attention spans, and I don't want to bore everybody to death as well. But yeah, you really can.
Yeah, it's part of what makes, or part of that desire for me is that, pursuing the Cicerone route, like not getting crazy into it, but at least going to the level 2, which is the Cicerone certified or whatever that is called. Mm-hmm. And just learning, to be honest with you, kind of learning what the off flavors are and being able to identify them and possibly being able to pick out maybe what happened in the beer to cause those. That's what's interesting to me about that. Like I could just, again, it would be a rabbit hole that I just don't know that I have that bandwidth in my life right now to go down.
That's honestly why I haven't done it. I did the first one because I was going to be pouring at, these beer fests, and they're like, it's like $18 an hour to pour at the beer fest if you don't have it. And it's like $24 an hour to pour. I'm like, I get paid $24 an hour to pour beer at a beer fest. You're sending me home with beer, and all I got to do is take this test that I would like to take anyways. Okay. And then COVID happened.
Interesting. I didn't realize that they kind of paid differently based off of that testing. That's pretty cool.
Well, it was that one specific organization, because what they did, it was like I was like an independent contractor basically. So they would do the tastings at Total Wines and whatnot. But like if you had a certified beer server license, like the girl I interviewed with, I actually run Girls Pine Out with now. And, because I got that, she's like, okay, I know that you're more educated in beer, so can you pour for Funky Buddha at this beer fest? Because if somebody asks you a question, you're more likely to have the answer. So they wanted, boys worked there too. There were some boys, but they wanted the people, especially the girls though, because the guys will question the girls and they will be, oh, I didn't expect you to know that. And I had like more than one person at the one fest. Have you even been to Funky Buddha Brewery? Yes, I have, asshole, many times. But, yeah, so they want you to be educated for those douches.
Yeah. Yeah, those are the guys, though, you just don't want to serve. You're like, you've had too much to drink. Just step to the side.
Yeah, right.
Like, you fucking asshole. Yeah.
Well, the D-bagness doesn't come out until they have beer in their cup, and then
Yeah.
they start talking to you.
Well, I don't know about that. I know a lot of guys that are fucking assholes and D-bags without alcohol, so.
Oh, no. I meant, like, they don't talk until they have beer, and then they're like, oh, so have you even been to the brewery?
Yeah. Yeah, it's like asshole probably 100 times more than you have.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
I mean, I got it even when I was an intern in undergrad and in law school and everything.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty interesting. But it's pretty cool that there's people or an organization out there that's running those tastings that are that forward thinking, right? Like if you've had Cicerone, this is what you're going to make. If you haven't, this is what you're going to make. I'm all for that. I mean, the more informed that people are when they're pouring, I've poured at some beer fest where I don't even fucking remember somebody driving me home. So that was well before the ABCs were hot on beer fest and making sure that people weren't drinking while they were pouring. So yeah, it's definitely different times, but it's cool. I mean, the stuff that they teach in Cicerone, just in the server portion of it, you know, the average beer drinker has no idea that those sort of things are important. Like you have mentioned several times on here, cleanliness, glass, sterilization, all of that is critical. And it's what's pretty cool now is you're seeing a lot of breweries and a lot of these glass companies starting to etch the glass to produce the carbonation release that they're looking for, just in their servings at their tap rooms and stuff like that. So I think this sort of thing is going to be like the next wave of what makes breweries cool, right? Like when you walk in and it's the perfect pour and the carbonation is being released like it's supposed to, and all of that stuff. I mean, even before I left Boone and over there, that was a big thing that they were focusing on with servers. Like, no head is not the ideal pour. Get it out of your head. You know, here is what we're looking for. Make sure that you're pouring the pints to this sort of thing. So it's kind of cool that is a thing. And I think that again, I think that respect and that approach to pouring the beer is something that we still don't see a lot of breweries that are kind of defining it. With the carbonation release and everything else that goes along with it. But I definitely think that is kind of the next step where that becomes almost like you said, like a science. Like we pour the perfect pint every time we pour one. Right,
but like the consumer needs to be aware too, because like I was at Epcot one time and we were at the pub in the UK and I ordered a Guinness and the guy next to me ordered like a Bass or something that wasn't Guinness. And I ordered my beer, I paid, then the guy ordered his, and he got his beer, and I was just chit-chatting with him for a second. And it was an older gentleman, and he's like, well, I hope you finally get your beer eventually. I was like, well, I ordered a Guinness. She's letting it rest. She's, pouring it properly, and I understand why I'm waiting. But it's like, the person's got to know, too, that, yeah, there's an art form to it, and you benefit in the end from that art form.
Yeah, 100%. And I think the one thing that most people miss out on is, like, if you just pour what you think is a perfect beer, a beer without no head on it, all the way to the rim, the amount of carbonation that's going to be released as soon as that hits your gut is unimaginable.
I never thought of that.
Yeah, like, people don't realize that the stuff that creates the head is carbonation that's being released from that liquid prior to it hitting your gut. If that releases in your stomach, the amount of bloat and gas that you're going to experience is every bit of that head.
That makes sense. I think about it like when I used to drink Budweiser more, which they give it to you with no head. I definitely burped more than I do drinking craft beer.
Yeah.
Huh. I never thought about that.
Yeah, I think an easy way for people to experience it is just take your favorite beer, pour it without creating any sort of head, and drink it. And the next night, just shake the shit out of it Open it up, let it foam up, pour it as hard as you can, and drink the remnants, and just see the difference in how you feel. I can promise you, you're gonna feel 100% better. Yeah, if you allow that beer to release that carbonation, the majority of it, before it hits your stomach, because there's a lot of carbonation and a lot of gas inside of even just a 12-ounce can of beer that I don't think people even realize.
Well, I remember, or I don't remember exactly, but there's something like it holds in some of the flavor, maybe it's the aroma. I can't remember now specifically, but I know there's more benefits to it too, rather than just the less gassy aspect. But yeah, you mentioned the glass cleanliness. Unfortunately, that's one of those things that once you learn, you cringe every time you see bubbles on somebody's glass, and it's like you almost wish you could unlearn it.
Yeah, and I would tell you, I'll be very, very honest with you. Obviously, I live here during the week by myself the majority of the time, and will be here by myself through this weekend for a whole nother week. So I'm literally living by bare minimum needs and necessities, like the couple of pieces of pizza that I ate. Will be a week old tomorrow, but you throw it in the damn air fryer for 3 minutes and it's like you made it yesterday. So my beer glass is literally, I pour a beer in it, rinse it out and turn it upside down and let it dry out for the next one. So every time I pour a beer in that glass, and before I take a picture of it, especially if I'm going to post it, I always think to myself, is Hoppy going to see any dirtiness on this beer? Like, is she going to send me a message and be like, Jay, that fucking beer's got fingerprints all over it. What are you doing?
The outside is fine, but I think when I did the beer school, it was because multiple people on the podcast where I was like, this represents all of us. Because any person that knows that, though, then, like, there's somebody we follow on the Geek page that is a beer thing. I won't say the name at all, but like anytime they're drinking at home, there's bubbles all over their glass, and it breaks my heart a little. But like I'll get like a couple bubbles on the glass, and if you slam the glass down a little bit, not to like break it, like sometimes those bubbles will then release, but the bubbles are sticking to the dirtiness in the glass.
Yeah.
So that's what it is indicating. But when I was in Austin, Texas, we went with another couple, and my friend's wife is big into cider, so he had ordered her a cider. And him and I were, getting beers, and I said, "Oh, that glass looks dirty." And the bartender goes, "Actually, when it's ciders, because of the carbonation and everything, the bubbles are perfectly fine, and it doesn't indicate that it's dirty like a soda." I was like, "Oh," I very much so was like, "Thank you." I wasn't trying to be a bitch to her because she was really nice and really cool, and I had no clue. So if you have a cider and it bubbles, that's okay.
Is that confirmed?
I did not confirm it. I took her word for it. This is at Zilker Brewing. I don't drink ciders, so I never looked it up.
Let's confirm it. So my question to you, Hoppy, is do the rinse agents and dishwashers impact that?
So I don't put any of my beer glasses in the dishwasher. I hand wash all of them, but it does say you want to use, if you're putting it in the dishwasher, you want to have a certain detergent that's like all natural. You don't want to have like, I don't know, that bright green stuff or something. So like our soap is an all natural soap, and I use a separate sponge because they say food particles can impact it too. And when you're putting it in the dishwasher, obviously food particles are getting on it.
So can you use the dishwasher in the name of experimentation in science?
Can I do it?
Yeah.
I could do it with some glasses that can't be ruined, sure, because a lot of my glasses too are like pretty, so I don't want to wear the stuff off, but I could do that. Like some plain ones, sure.
Yeah, I think it'd be
control groups.
Yeah, I think it'd be kind of cool to say, to come up with hey, if you're going to use a dishwasher, this is the best method.
Okay.
And these
taster glasses sometimes in there.
Yeah. Because obviously this is very easy to spot, right? Like you're going to tell as soon as you pour the beer. I mean, this isn't what's the word I'm looking for? This isn't opinion. Like you're not forming an opinion off of it. It's very clear cut that either there is carbonation being released off the side of the glass or there's not. So I think it'd be interesting because I'll be very honest with you. I use a dishwasher for everything. I use a rinse. I mean, I try to keep the rinse agent pretty full at most times, but I don't see those. At least I don't in the glasses that I pour out of there. But I'm interested to say, does the rinse agent make a difference? Does the soap actually make a difference? Does it? You know what I mean? Like, what is the best method if you're going to use a dishwasher?
I like this. I'm already thinking of control groups. Okay, I got this. It might take a little bit because I'm going to need time because I want to do like one in the dishwasher and one hand wash and then switch up the soaps. And okay.
Yeah, because, I mean, it's no secret, right? Breweries use dishwashers. Like, they don't have somebody that's washing all their dishes
But they're not washing food dishes in those dishwashers.
Correct.
So that might be the difference. Whereas I don't know anybody, if you're not washing any food dishes and only drink dishes, like that's a different story. Unless you're a monk and it's Lent.
That could be too. Yeah. We might have a Hops News experiment coming up with beer glasses in the dishwasher.
Yeah, but Josh needs to get my rinser installed. I still haven't gotten that installed.
Oh, yeah. Matt told me that you got one of those that go on the edge of the sink.
Yeah, it goes on the edge of the sink, and it's on Amazon. They're like, oh, just undo your soap thing and stick it on there. Well, my hole is too small, so we have to have somebody drill the hole bigger, which, like, we have the marble countertop, so, like, I'm not about to go take a drill and make it bigger. So we need somebody to come in and make it bigger so I can install it. And, yeah, I've had it for a while, so because I can do the experiment without it, but...
Yeah, tomorrow call the nearest marble countertop installer in your area and just ask them to come by and give you an estimate.
Yeah, there you go. That'll get Josh to get somebody. Josh has a guy. They just haven't come yet.
Josh has the guy. You're just waiting for him. That makes sense.
Josh has a guy for everything. You need something, Josh has a guy.
Sounds like it. Hey, it's about time to wrap this up. I know Hoppy and our Matt and Lauren are going to record here in just a second, so appreciate everybody hanging out tonight. Another good episode. Again, stay tuned. There'll be more information to follow about the Virginia Beach outing, beer, drunk fest, whatever you want to call it. Mid-May, right before, what is in May? Memorial Day? Is that Memorial Day that's in May? It's going to be the weekend before Memorial Day, so before things get packed and too expensive in the area. So be on the lookout for it. I don't want to say too much, but it'll be fun. There'll be a good time for the Hops News family for sure. Anybody that attends, hopefully lining up some good stuff, and we'll have some great beer partners here in the area that are a part of that. So stay tuned for that. Hopefully we'll have some more information to follow. Hobby, what do we have to look forward to? Or Lauren, what do we have to look forward to from Geeks and parting shots for this episode?
So Matt and I just dropped an episode all about Cyclops comic book origin, and my friend Johnny joined us, and he knows anything and everything about comics. Super cool dude. And we're actually going on tonight to interview somebody who just put out a comic that you can get on Comixology. So that's what we're doing. And of course, every week we have the news and what we've been drinking and all that fun stuff. So, and if you're in the Boise area, definitely check out Woodland Empire. That's where Matt just released his beer. And if you're in the Orlando area, check out Deadward's Brewing. We are going to be getting them on soon. Great beer, awesome spot, great beer geek place. And that's pretty much it. That's what I got.
Yeah, definitely if you're in the Boise area, go check out Mash's beer release there at Woodland Empire. That's pretty sweet, to be honest with you. Definitely fitting, right? Donuts and beer for Mash.
And it's called Donut Geek.
There you go, Donut Geek for sure. Yeah, don't miss out on that opportunity if you're there. Good stuff coming from the geeks. Go check out the. I'll be honest with you, If I said I'm a little bit disappointed in the Feeling Lucky crew, the honesty is I'm very disappointed in those guys. Who the hell in their right mind does a dry February?
Oh. I was really surprised at that too. I mean, as somebody who would never do dry, I did dry 9 months 3 times. I'm never doing it again.
Yeah. But the Feeling Lucky crew is not a group of guys that should even consider a dry day. Like,
I was very surprised. I mean, I'm almost proud of them, but also surprised. They
I'm
should be
not.
doing. I almost suggested, and I don't think they would. They should get all those non-alcoholic beers and review them if they're not going to be drinking regular ones.
We might have to pull their distribution agreement from them, to be honest with you. I don't know how you're a Feeling Lucky podcast on Hops News Network and decide to do anything dry.
Well, we've had well-being and we've had athletic, but keep in mind also it's February 3rd, and they did pick the shortest month of the year.
Yeah. Just an interesting approach. Hopefully they get their senses back to them before next week and start drinking some beer again, because they're definitely better when they've been drinking. But go check those guys out. Good stuff coming from those guys. Lucky makes a major life decision announcement on their episode, so go check that out. You might see Lucky in your neighborhood soon. Like, literally, that fucking guy might be beating on your door looking for a couch to sleep on. So go check out their episode. Follow those guys doing good stuff. Hey, Lori said it right there. I like dry martinis. When I order a martini, it's give me a dry martini, extra dry, extra filthy, and matter of fact, like, don't even put a drop of dry vermouth in it, and that's pretty much it. So I agree with you there, but giving up alcohol, that's not going to happen anytime soon, especially for a damn month long. No. Go check those guys out. Appreciate you tuning in, and check out the Geek episode that's going to follow. They got a great guest lined up that they're going to interview here shortly. So appreciate you listening. We'll be back next week at some point, hopefully Thursday night at 8. Plan on that. We'll probably be Thursday night at 8. And for those of us that are in the Hops News family, we'll probably do some sort of, maybe we'll do the after hours event on Zoom next Thursday. So keep an eye out for that. That'll be fun. All right, folks, have a great night. Be safe. Drink responsibly. Don't drink too much. And don't fucking commit to a dry month. Cheers.
Cheers.
All right, Lauren.
Matt just sent me the link. That was a good one. We didn't have too many viewers, but I'm going to push it for YouTube because I enjoyed it. It was very beer geeky.
Yeah, for sure. Good chatting with you. Good luck tonight. Have fun with it.
All right. Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye.